The boy who was afraid of everyone then changed in one day. Youssef was a 10-year-old boy who lived in a quiet neighborhood with his mother and father. Youssef was different from his peers, not in his appearance or intelligence, but in one thing: he was afraid of everyone. He was afraid of teachers, afraid of classmates, afraid of neighbors, and even afraid of children younger than him. At school, Youssef sat in the back row. He never raised his hand. Even if he knew the answer, he was afraid the teacher would look at him or the girls would laugh at him during break. He stood alone by the wall, watching the children play and laugh, wishing he could be like them, but fear stopped him from getting close. In the neighborhood, Youssef walked quickly when he saw anyone. He lowered his head and wished no one would call him. Even the children in the street felt his fear, so they bothered him and scared him more, making his fear and weakness grow. One night before sleeping, Youssef looked at himself in the mirror and said sadly, "Why am I a coward? Why can't I be like others?" Youssef cried a little, then slept, not knowing that tomorrow would be completely different. Youssef woke up the next morning to a strange sound. It was loud barking in the street. He went out to the balcony to see what was happening and found a stray dog cornering a small kitten in the garden across the street. The dog was barking fiercely, and the kitten was trembling, making weak sounds. Youssef felt afraid at first. He wanted to go back to his room and close the window, but something strange happened inside him. He looked into the eyes of the frightened kitten and saw himself. He saw the fear he knew so well. He saw weakness, unable to defend itself. Suddenly, Youssef felt an anger he did not recognize. Youssef ran down the stairs quickly without thinking. He opened the front door and ran toward the garden. His heart was beating fast, but his feet did not stop. He grabbed a long stick lying on the ground and stood between the dog and the kitten. He looked at the dog with eyes that were not afraid this time and shouted loudly, "Go away, leave here." The dog was surprised. It did not expect this small boy to stand up to him. But Youssef stepped forward, raised the stick high, and shouted again. "I said go." This time the dog felt fear, so it turned its back and ran away quickly. The kitten looked at Youssef with grateful eyes, then jumped and disappeared among the trees. Youssef stood there panting, unable to believe what he had done. Him, the fearful Youssef, who trembled when someone called him. He had faced a stray dog and shouted at him. People came out of their houses after hearing the shouting. The neighbors came out. Youssef's mother came out panicked, and Youssef's father came out early from work because he was on vacation. Everyone looked at Youssef standing in the garden with a stick in his hand. Neighbor Salim said, "Wow, this boy faced a stray dog and saved a kitten." The people came forward to clap for Youssef. As for Youssef, he felt something strange. He no longer felt afraid. He felt pride, something warm filling his chest. His mother went to him, hugged him, crying with joy, and said, "My son, you have grown up today." He looked at her and smiled, a smile that had not appeared on his face for many years. That day, Youssef decided not to go back to how he was. He went to school, and when the teacher asked a question, Youssef raised his hand. The teacher was very surprised, but he gave him the chance. Youssef gave the correct answer, so the teacher and his classmates clapped for him. During break,
I
Youssef
used
did
to
not
be
stand by
afraid,
the wall.
but then,
This time he
in
went
one
toward
day,
a group of
everything
children playing
changed.
football and said
I
in a
am not
clear
afraid
voice,
anymore.
"Can I play
Not
with you?"
anymore.
The children were surprised, but they welcomed him. Youssef
Thank
played and
goodness
enjoyed
he
himself
saved
and laughed
us.
with others for the first time. On the way back from school, he passed by the neighborhood children, who used to bother him, but this time he did not lower his head. He looked directly at them and said, "Hello, how are you?" The children were amazed by his new boldness, so no one dared to bother him. Youssef returned home in the evening. He sat with his parents at dinner. He was talking and laughing like a different person. His father looked at him and said, "Tell me about your day, my son. What happened to you?" Youssef smiled and said, "Father, I used to think that fear was the strongest thing in the world, but today I discovered that fear is just a shadow. If you face it, it disappears, and if you run from it, it chases you." The father laughed and said wise words from a 10-year-old boy. You learned in one day what some learn in years. At night before sleeping, Youssef looked at himself in the mirror. He did not cry this time. Instead, he smiled and said to himself,
Wow!
"You
This
are not
boy
a coward.
faced a
You
stray
just did
dog
not
and
know how
saved
strong
a
you were."
kitten!
From that
I
day
used
on,
to be
Youssef
afraid,
changed completely.
but then,
He was no
in
longer
one
afraid
day,
of anyone.
everything
He started
changed.
defending the weak,
I am
standing
not
up against
afraid
injustice,
anymore.
and speaking confidently in front of everyone. He became a role model for the neighborhood children and a beloved friend at school. And whenever he saw someone afraid, Youssef would approach them and say, "Do not be afraid. Fear is just an illusion. Try facing it once and you will see how it runs away from you." Youssef learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but doing the right thing despite fear, and that real change starts from within and can happen in one moment if a person has the will and courage to face themselves first.